Jai Hind, children. So, we are back again with a lesson. The poem on the grasshopper and cricket. Children, yesterday I have explained you the first four lines of the poem. The first four line of the octet, right? Today we are going to study the last four lines of the octet. That is the last four lines of stanza 1 of this sonnet. Alright. Children, let me now recite this poem once and then I'll be continuing with the explanation. Okay? Children, listen the poem carefully and try to appreciate the beauty of words that the poet has used in the poem, so that you yourself will understand or know the elements of nature that John Keats has depicted in the poem. Alright, so let me begin with its recitation. The poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun and hide in cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new mown mead. That is the grasshopper's. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done with his delights. For when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stove there shrills the cricket's song, in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost. The grasshoppers among some grassy hills. Children, now before I commence further with the explanation of the second half of the octave of the sonnet, let us take a quick recap of those four lines that I have taught you yesterday. Let us do a quick revision of what we have studied in our yesterday's class. Okay, and I'm going to ask you few questions for that. Children, who is the writer of the poem? The expected answer from you is John Keats. Yes, John Keats has written this poem, this sonnet. Okay, my next question is, when did the writer compose this poem, children? The expected answer from you is that this poem was composed by John Keats in the year 1816. He has written this sonnet in the year 1816. Okay, children, what did John Keats admire the most? Children, John Keats admired nature the most. I told you in my yesterday's class also that he was a great admirer of nature. He portrayed the beauty of nature and its capacity to bring joy in his poems. Even this poem, the one which we are reading, is a nature poem. I've already explained this in detail yesterday, children. Okay, now children, what qualifies this poem as a sonnet? The expected answer from you is that this poem has 14 lines, which qualifies it as a sonnet. Alright children, okay, now see the next question. How many parts does a sonnet have? Children, the expected answer from you is that a sonnet has two parts, an octave or octet and a sestet. Okay, children, what is an octave? An octave is a stanza of 4 lines. The first stanza of 8 lines of the sonnet on the grasshopper and cricket is the octave. Alright, my next question is, what is a sestet, children? The expected answer from you is that a sestet is the second stanza of a sonnet having 6 lines. Okay, children, now tell me the rhyming scheme of an octave. What is the rhyming scheme of an octave, children? Yesterday, when we were doing the analysis of the first four lines of the sonnet, I have explained to you the rhyming scheme of the octave. So, the expected answer from you is that the rhyming scheme of an octet is A, B, B, A, B, B, A, which is the most common rhyme scheme. Okay. So, remember, children, that the rhyming scheme of an octet is A, B, B, A, B, B, A. Okay, children. So, what is the theme of the poem? The expected answer from you is nature. Yes, children, nature is the theme of the poem. The poem explores that how the beauty of the nature persists and never ends. Okay, children, tell me, how is this poem symbolic? We have discussed about it yesterday, right? The poem is symbolic as the grasshopper in the poem symbolizes the hot summer. Children, you must have seen a grasshopper. Have you noticed its color? A grasshopper has a cover of a bright green color on its body. And the summers are also bright, right? So the grasshopper symbolizes the hot summer, whereas cricket in this poem symbolizes cold winter. Children, you must have seen the cricket also, right? Its color seems so dull. They are usually brown, red, or black in color. And children, you know that the season of winter is also dull and quiet in a way that everybody loves to remain warm at their places in their blankets. So, this is how cricket in this poem symbolizes the winter season. And both the creatures are symbolizing the joyous mood of the nature. Okay, alright, children. So, my next question for you is, which seasons did the poet talk about in the poem? The seasons that the poet talks about, the seasons that the poet talked about in the poem are summer and winter. The first stanza of the poem has been set in summer and the second one in winter. Okay, children. So, what did you understand by the first four lines? Children, in the first four lines, the poet describes that the music of nature, the poetry of nature never dies. It keeps on going with the use of its mediums. The poet explains that when it's extreme hot in summers, the birds get tired and they stop singing their song. They find shelter from the sweltering summer in trees. Then also the nature does not stop its poetry. A voice can still be heard from running and hopping from hedge to hedge. Okay, now children, let me explain you the last four lines of the octet, or you can say octave. That is the last four lines of stanza 1. Right? So let's read it now. That is the grasshoppers. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done with his delights. For when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. Children, before I commence with the explanation, please make a note of meanings of few difficult words. Let's see the first word. That's luxury, which means a condition of great ease and comfort. Okay. Now let's see the next word, children. The next word is summer luxury. Children, it means extremely comfortable living and surrounding in summer. Alright, now let's see the next word, which is delight. That means great pleasure. Okay, now the next word is ease. That means absence of difficulty or efforts. Now see the last word, children. Weed. Children, weed means a wild plant growing where it is not wanted. It means wild plants that grows in an unwanted place, especially in a garden or field where it prevents the cultivated plants from growing freely. Alright, now let me explain you the poem, children. Children, in these four lines, the poet praises the beauty of the nature that is continuous, considering the song of a particular insect that is the grasshopper. Children, here the grasshopper symbolizes what? The grasshopper symbolizes hot summer. As I have explained you that when birds get tired in the scorching heat of the sun and go to rest in the shade of the trees, when they stop singing their song, when they stop working, then also we will be able to hear the song of the nature. When the birds seem to hide themselves in cooling trees due to sweltering summer, then also we will be able to hear a voice, and that is the voice of the grasshopper. At that time, a grasshopper can be seen flying from hedge to hedge and singing delightfully. The earth continues its poetry through the nature's tiny creature, that is the grasshopper. The grasshopper has the luxury of taking over the duty of carrying on with the everlasting song of the earth in summer, as he is never done with his delights. He sings tirelessly. Children, here the poet describes that the grasshopper is fun loving and cheerful in summer. It enjoys hot summer. He seems to be excitedly hopping around tirelessly. Children, here the happiness of the grasshopper singing when summer arrives and the happiness that is found in the music of the grasshopper is highlighted. Children, the poet further describes that the grasshopper then goes to take rest under the pleasant weed only when he is tired out with fun. When he gets tired, he goes to take rest under the pleasant weed. Alright, children, now let us do the analysis of the poem. Okay, firstly, we'll talk about diction. Children, I've told you yesterday that diction means the use or choice of words by the poet. So here in these four lines, the poet has made use of simple diction, which is very easy to understand, isn't it? We all have understood the poem well, right? Now, let us talk about the rhyming scheme of the poem. Children, I told you that an octave tends to have the most common rhyme scheme, that's A, B, B, A, B, B, A. So the rhyme scheme of the second half of the octave, that means the four lines that we have read today is A, B, B, A. Alright, children, now see the 8th line of the 4th stanza. He rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. The figure of speech that is used in this line is imagery. Basically, the poet has made use of visual imagery here. The reader can visualize the grasshopper resting under the pleasant weed. That's all for the day, children. We'll be continuing with the explanation of the sestet of this sonnet tomorrow. Thank you. Have a good day, children.